If you were waiting for the M4 Mac Studio to come out before choosing a new desktop Mac computer, then it's time to make a decision between the Mac Mini or the Mac Studio. And in this video, we're going to go through all the differences between these, help you decide if you need to splurge and get the Mac Studio or if the Mac Mini is going to be more than enough computer for you. First thing we need to look at is the ports on these. So the Mac Mini has 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports on the back if you get the M4 version. If you get the M4 Pro version, then you actually get 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports, which is going to allow for faster speeds and better daisy chaining of devices. Also, another difference between the ports on them is the Mac Studio gives you 4 Thunderbolt 5 ports on the back, no matter which version of it you get. And then on the front of both of these, you do get 2 USB-C ports running at the USB 3 speeds. On the Mac Studio, though, the front also adds a SD card slot, which supports speeds all the way up to the UHS 2 standard, so very fast SD card transfers on the Mac Studio. Now, on the Mac Mini, you can get the network port up to a 10 gigabit a second port, but on the Mac Studio, it comes stock with the 10 gigabit a second port. They also both have an HDMI port on the back, and they also both give you the power port on the back. One other big physical difference between the two of them is the Mac Studio is both heavier and larger than the Mac Mini. On the Mac Mini, the power button, you have to actually lift the computer up to access it. On the Mac Studio, the power button is just on the back, very easy to access. So that's the physical differences between the two computers. Now, from a screen perspective on the Mac Studio, it supports up to 5 displays. The Mac Mini technically supports up to 3 displays, although you can do more if you use display link technology. But for most people, you're just going to need to know 3 displays with the Mac Mini straight out of the box, 5 displays with the Mac Studio straight out of the box. The next thing we got to talk about is the chip differences. So with the Mac Mini, you get the M4 or the M4 Pro chip. With the Mac Studio, you can get the M3 Ultra or the M4 Max, which the M3 Ultra is actually a better chip than the M4 Max, but most people, you're really not going to need the performance that the M3 Ultra offers because it's really mainly for graphics and video editors. If you need a ton of 3D performance and a ton of GPU performance, also is going to be better for accessing a ton of RAM if you're using lots of RAM on that computer. Now, these computers do come with different chipsets and different stock RAM configurations. And depending on your use case, you may want to upgrade the RAM, but most people who are buying the Mac Mini, I would just get the 16 gigabyte RAM set that it comes with. Or if you get the M4 Pro, then that's going to start out with 24 gigabytes of RAM. But I really don't recommend most users buy the M4 Pro. And the main reason I advise skipping over the M4 Pro Mac Mini is because the main thing that it offers is better memory bandwidth, and it also gives you additional GPU cores and CPU cores. But the reason that I would say most people should look into buying the Mac Studio instead of the Mac Mini is if you're doing a ton of video work or a ton of graphics intensive tasks, because you're going to be able to have the ability to get more graphics cores either with the standard version of it, or you can also get the higher GPU version of the M4 Max, which is going to be even better if you're doing a lot of video editing. But the thing that all the M4 Max chips have that the M4 Pro does not have is it has double the video encode engines. So what this means is if you're exporting videos, it's going to go at double the speed, and it also has double the ProRes engines as well. I have the M4 Mac Mini, I've loved it, but the main thing I noticed when I used it was not any performance issues. In day-to-day use, I did notice it would slow down sometimes if I was using 3 or 4 streams of 4K footage on Final Cut at the same time. But the main thing I noticed the M4 Mac Mini slowing down on was video exporting. And it doesn't matter if you get the M4 Mac Mini or the M4 Pro Mac Mini because they have the same amount of video encode engines. But the M4 Max Mac Studio gives you double the video encode engines. So right out of the box, you're going to get double the speed of exporting videos, which I know some people say it doesn't really matter. But if you're like me and you're making tons of videos every single day, you really want the best possible video exporting speed so that you can be more productive and get more done. That's really the only reason you should even think about getting the M3 Ultra if you really are working on a lot of long form videos and you need to get things exported way faster. One last difference between the different chipsets, the M4 Pro has double the memory bandwidth that the M4 has, but the M4 Max has 4 times the memory bandwidth that the standard M4 has. What memory bandwidth does is it just allows your computer to access files and complete tasks faster because the different memory components can communicate faster. So depending on the different tasks that you're going to be doing, memory bandwidth will make a big difference. What I did notice though is the M4 Mac Mini handles everything just fine, but if you start to upgrade the storage, upgrade the RAM, upgrade to a 10 gigabit a second Ethernet port, you're going to be spending quite a bit more. in which case you need to really start to ask yourself, should you just be buying a Mac Studio instead? Also, the M4 Mac Mini goes for $600. The M4 Pro Mac Mini goes for $1,400. And the M4 Max Mac Studio starts at $2,000. So it's a big price jump between getting the M4 Mac Mini or getting the M4 Max Mac Studio. Really, you need to ask yourself, are you making money with this computer? Do you really need to be getting a ton of work done with it? Because in that case, you need to go for the M4 Max Mac Studio. We haven't even talked about thermal performance because the M4 honestly performs just fine. But technically, the M4 Max Mac Studio is going to perform even better than that under heavier thermal load just due to the size of it and due to the way that it's designed with the cooling system. The reason I don't really recommend most people buying the M4 Pro Mac Mini is because in the real world, you're not going to notice a ton of difference in the performance of the M4 Pro or the standard M4 chip. You may notice it a little bit doing music production or during some basic video and photo editing, but when you're getting into the really intensive tasks, that's when you're going to appreciate having the video encode and decode engines and the way faster memory bandwidth that the Mac Studio has. So basically what this means is as you continue to go up the chain of computers, you're going to get faster video exporting. If you're doing audio editing, you're going to be able to run more plugins and effects, run more audio tracks at the same time. For graphics and photo editing, you're just going to notice overall snappier performance on the M4 Max Mac Studio. But I think if you're trying to decide between the different computers, you need to start by asking yourself what you're using it for. If you're not doing professional work and you're just doing stuff as a hobby or casually, then the M4 Mac Mini is amazing. It can do anything. It can do video editing, it can do photo editing, it does music production just fine as well. And then get the M4 Pro Mac Mini if you need a little bit more power. I really think the M4 Pro Mac Mini is a better option if you just need to get a little bit more power, but you're not trying to make your workflow crazy fast compared to getting the M4 Mac Studio. I think the M4 Pro Mac Mini is also going to be a great option for musicians or producers who don't need to have the best possible recording setup. But really, if you're making money with the computer and if you care about efficiency, getting a lot of output done with your computer, that's when you're really going to appreciate the speeds that the M4 Max Mac Studio has. And then as you're picking out which one to get, start to ask yourself, do you need the extra RAM? Do you need extra storage? Should you go from the standard M4 Max chip to the one that has more GPU cores? Because if you're just doing music production or if you're doing some photo editing, the standard M4 Max is going to be great for you. Also, it's going to give you the same video encode and decode engines that the higher end M4 Max chip does. But if you're doing more GPU intensive tasks, then you are going to appreciate having that upgraded Mac Studio M4 Max chip. Another thing that you can ask yourself as you're looking at these is how much RAM do you need? Depending on the tasks that you're using, the standard 36 gigabytes or the 48 gigabytes might be more than enough. I went up to 64 just to give a little bit of wiggle room with editing a lot of 6K footage, but I've been using 32 gigabytes on my M1 Max MacBook Pro for years, and it's been working great. So I think the 64 is going to absolutely crush it. And then on the storage side, all the Apple SSD prices are pretty crazy. I would not recommend upgrading the storage on any of the M4 Mac Minis at all because it's going to be way more economical to just pick up better external SSDs. But if you're going to spend all the money that the M4 Mac Studio is going to cost, that's where you should probably get at least a terabyte. Get a 2 terabyte if you're doing a lot of video editing. Otherwise, I have tons of SSDs I recommend. I'm going to have links for some of those video reviews in the description below. So again, to tie it all together, which computer should you get? Get the M4 Mac Mini if you just need to have a great overall computer that can handle anything you throw at it, just not with the power and speed that its bigger brother, the M4 Pro or the Mac Studio can offer. I would really only recommend getting the M4 Pro Mac Mini if you need a small performance boost without going all the way up to the Mac Studio territory. But for most people, the difference is going to be so small in the real world, it's not worth getting. You would be better off spending your money on accessories, getting a better display, getting better external SSDs. But if you're using your computer professionally, doing a lot of video production, photo production, music production, that's when the Mac Studio really starts to make a lot of sense because it's going to be way more efficient than any of the other computers at exporting files and also at performing well under heavy load. And then if you're doing a lot of video editing, then that's when I would recommend getting the slightly better M4 Max chip that has more GPU and CPU cores. If you got any questions or if you disagree with me and you think I'm wrong about this, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. If you're interested in buying any of my favorite accessories for the Mac Mini or the Mac Studio. I do have links to buy all of these in the description below.